What's up, everybody? Michael Walsh here. So I'm here today to talk about Tom Aspinall and just the insane fan reaction to him at the moment, because this has to be one of the most extreme flips of the script I've ever seen concerning the fans and their opinion of a fighter. Because it wasn't long ago, it was right up until the Gane fight, that people were just loving him. Everyone was on Tom's bandwagon. Everyone was treating him as the best heavyweight in the world. Everyone was saying that John Jones was ducking him, was terrified of him, that he retired John, that he was, being dealt a bad hand by the UFC and by all the circumstances surrounding, that division and his fights. Everyone was praising his skills. They were saying that if he wasn't the greatest heavyweight of all time, that he was at least the best heavyweight in terms of ability. That, everyone was treating him like he was invincible. And, treating him the way people were treating Khabib or Khamzat, on the come up, or Khamzat right now at the moment, LA's champion, or treating Ronda Rousey. Like, it was, and I have a comparison to Ronda Rousey in a moment, but that was sort of how people were talking about Tom. And now that he had this one fight with Cyril Gane that didn't even go around, and where he got poked in the eye, now that that's all happened, and now that he's saying he actually does have damage to the eye and he's getting surgery. And I don't know 100%. I heard that he had gotten surgery on one eye and he's going to get another surgery on the other. That could be wrong, but he could just have both of them coming up. I'm not sure. But in any case, he's getting surgery. And everyone, I'm seeing comments all over the place from people saying that he's getting eye surgery to duck Cyril Gane. And that is just, I get that MMA fans are very conspiratorial, and I get that they like narratives like that, and they like inventing psychological explanations for everything that happens. And I get all that. I get that some of that's part of the fun of the sort of gossipy side of this sport. But this is so delusional and weird to me that I'm kind of taken aback, because Tom was barely losing that fight. Tom had less than a round of fighting between himself and Cyril Gane. Yes, he was losing. His nose got bloody. Cyril Gane landed a couple more punches, but not much happened. Tom didn't get dropped. He didn't get seriously hurt. He didn't get visibly fatigued. His body language didn't suggest that he was broken. It's the way people are talking about this, it would be as if in Brock Lesnar's fight with Shane Carwin, if that ended due to a no contest via eye poke towards the end of the first round. Because there I would get it a bit more, because in that case, what happened? Brock got hurt on the feet. They went to the ground. Carwin just landed this hellstorm of ground and pound, very nearly finished Brock. And you could see on Brock's face moments where he was just wide-eyed and terrified. But to his credit, he actually survived and made it to the second round and won. So even there, if that fight got called early, we would have been actually mistaken in assuming that Brock was just going to go on to lose it anyways. And nothing even close to that happened in the Tom versus Cyril Gane fight. I don't get what people think they saw in that fucking fight. I get it. Tom, I made the comparison to Ronda Rousey. Tom had that sort of thing going on where he was just eradicating everyone in a round or two. And that was mostly true of Ronda. So I get where seeing any pushback, seeing any competitiveness, seeing any opposition for some people is going to be shocking. And they're going to have the aversion of the Gustafsson-Jones 1 effect where, that fight probably should have gone to Jones, and it did. But people were so caught up in the moment because they were expecting Jones to just wipe the floor with him, that the fact that it was pretty close led them to think oh, Jones clearly lost, Gustafsson clearly won. It's a similar effect where it's if people were expecting Cyril Gane to just get killed in a round, and instead Gane looks to be winning the round, in their head they're oh, this juxtaposes so extremely with what I expected that I'm going to I'm going to let the pendulum swing the other way in an overcorrection where I'm now going to say, oh my God, Gane was killing him. Oh my God, Tom wanted out. Oh my God, Tom will never want to fight that guy again. Oh my God, oh my God. And to me, that's just nonsense. It's, you would think, again, I compared it to that hypothetical with Brock, but you would think what happened was Ronda Rousey's losses, because there it made sense. There the fans flipping on her made sense for multiple reasons. one of which was her persona and everything, but like, she made it easy to dislike her, especially during the fall from grace, and she was a sore loser and everything else. But just the way those fights went, she went from taking everyone out very quickly to all of a sudden not only losing in back-to-back fights, but getting finished in back-to-back fights, and not only losing and getting finished, but appearing like helpless and hopeless and unskilled in whole phases of the fight. So again, like the flip of like, oh my God, she's unbeatable to, oh my God, she sucks, made a kind of sense. And even there, it wasn't totally fair, because even Ronda Rousey, as limited as she is, like, was still at that time one of the best bantamweights in the world. And to be blunt, she could you could take prime Rousey and just throw her into the bantamweight division now, and she would still be one of the best. She wouldn't be the best, but she'd be one of the best. So even there, it was a little unfair, but it made a lot more sense. With Tom, I just don't fucking get it. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I expected, him to win the Gane fight. I'm still not convinced he was going to lose it by it. Like, I'm not convinced of that at all. I'm not convinced he wouldn't win a rematch. And I, not to toot my own horn and say, oh my God, I had the right prediction. I had all the inside knowledge. But like, I suspected Gane could give him troubles in certain ways. And I expected Gane to have better grappling and better takedown defense than he showed against Jones. So to me, it wasn't like shocking that round one wasn't just a wipeout for Tom. But in any case, like how do you see this situation with his eyes and just assume he's faking it? Because you have to believe either that he just isn't having the surgeries, that's just a lie, that he's like staging these videos at the doctor's office and he's just walking around with gauze on his face to like trick everyone, and that the surgeries just aren't actually happening. You'd have to say that, or you'd have to say that like something arguably weirder, which is that like he's getting the surgery and doesn't need it, which practically speaking, just kind of play that out, because he lives in England. They have a national health system, the NHS over there. My understanding of how that system works, and if anyone like from the UK is watching this, feel free to comment. But my understanding is they're not just going to give you a surgery when you don't fucking need it. They're probably not going to give it to you if you like are on the fence of needing it. Like, part of the free healthcare system is that, they're a little more, there's a little bit more of a triage in effect there. And I don't think he can just walk in and be like, yeah, give me eye surgery, like just for funsies. Like, and if they're not giving it to him, that means he's like doing it privately, because I think they have private doctor's offices and stuff in England. So I think you can pay out of pocket for stuff like that, which again, it's, or he's like doing it in a different country. He was coming to the US to do it or something where he's paying out of pocket. It's like, how fucking rich do you think this guy is that he's like paying out of pocket for surgeries that he doesn't fucking need just to avoid a guy he kind of lost some of a round to? Because I get that some people are painting this narrative that this is some sort of long con, like, I want to fight on the White House card and I don't want to fight Cyril, so I want Cyril to like lose to Alex, or I want Cyril to lose to someone else, and then I fight Alex, or, and I just need to avoid Cyril for the time being, kind of like the narratives coming out that like Ilya faked his whole divorce thing so he could avoid Armin and blah, 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 blah. And I'm not even going to touch on that, but it's like a similar narrative where it's like, oh, he's just trying to delay, this interaction with Gane. But it's like, even if that were true, because don't get me wrong, like, I'm not even saying something like that couldn't happen. If he was just like, oh, if he was just vaguely like, oh, my eye still hurts or something, or, oh, I'm hurt, or, oh, whatever, or, oh, I need some time off, or blah, 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 blah. You could make an argument like that. But like, the fact that he's getting fucking surgery on his eye, and again, I think he has gotten one already. I could be wrong. It's I feel like Dana White here was like, don't even fucking ask me about his eye. But like, the fact that is happening, or has happened already, like to me, it's like open and shut. Like, his fucking eye clearly got damaged. He clearly wasn't faking it in the moment. Was his demeanor, not impressive? Sure. Was he kind of wimpy about it? Did he admit himself that he's like, holy shit, I can't imagine how Michael Bisping literally fought with one eye for several fights. I could never do that. These are his words, not mine. Like, I get it. Tom is not the toughest guy in the world. The fact that he said he'd retire if his dad couldn't be his coach is not a good sign as far as like being the best fighter of all time, being the best fighter in your division's history, et cetera, et cetera. I get all that. I get that he's not mentally tough and invested in the game to the degree that the very, very, very most competitively like elite and strong-willed people in the sport's history have been. People like Dominic Cruz, people like Michael Bisping, people like Kamaru Usman. I get that he's not quite on that level, but, and I get where that can, put a little bit of a sour taste in people's mouths. But the idea that he's faking all of this, the idea that his eye is fine and he's getting surgeries for funsies or to, like, avoid the fight, the idea that, frankly, the idea that he would refuse to ever again fight Cyril Gane or something, that he's afraid of him now or something because he had a kind of hard first round against him, this is all ridiculous. It's all ridiculous, okay? So I just needed to get that out there because it's weird. It's a much more extreme and less justified version of like what happened to Sean O'Malley, because Sean O'Malley was a rising star. He had, he was gaining in popularity. People were eyeballing him as a future contender. And some people liked him because of his shtick, and some people despised him because of his shtick. But generally speaking, we were looking at him as an up-and-comer. And then he had a fight with Pedro Munoz where he was arguably losing, and then it ended due to a no contest because of a foul. And most of us at that point were kind of like, we think we've seen your ceiling. It was akin to like Patty winning that dicey fight against Jared Gordon. It was kind of like that thing of like, okay, your ceiling is about Pedro Munoz. To Sean's credit, he went on to beat Peter Yan, beat Sterling, become champion, whatever. But, at least there, you could kind of see it because some people didn't like him anyways because of his personality and how he was trying to build himself as a star. But, like, that fight itself made more sense in terms of being like, oh, we put you in against this guy who's not even himself a top contender, and the fight went more than a round, and you are arguably losing that fight. That kind of made sense for why people would, be iffy on him, especially since that was after he lost to Cheeto. So, like, to me, that's like somewhat comparable, but much more mild and much more sensible. What's happening with Tom, where Tom was this beloved guy, like nothing about his personality, again, aside from just not being as willing to fucking die in the cage as someone like Michael Bisping is, aside from that, nothing about his personality leads me to see why people would turn on him. Unlike, say, Ronda Rousey again, who, like, it made sense why people turned on her because of her persona. But with Tom, like, just none of this is adding up to me. I don't know if people are just that desperate for, like, storylines right now and drama and are just feeling that, like, that the UFC is just feeling that stale for them at the moment, that they need to, like, latch onto a narrative like this. But this, to me, this is weird. Like, I've said time and time again, I've been watching the sport a long fucking time, and I'm having a hard time, like, thinking of another moment that quite matches this. It's weird.